Hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. I miss getting to see all of you and see your smiley faces. So hopefully, everything and everyone will be healthy and we'll get back to our normal routine sooner rather than later. But I wanted to make you a video this week just to be able to review formative and summative assessments with you and share a little bit more information. So last week in Model 10, we talked about formative and summative assessments. You found a tool that could be used for formative assessments, and you evaluated those tools and posted that on your Google site and discussion board. So over the next few days, I will be reading over those and looking at your tools and posting your grade. So hopefully the privacy settings are all set so that I will be able to see those. If not, I will be emailing you to ask you to change that. So this week, Module 11 is again a continuation of utilizing formative and summative assessments. So just to recap, anything that will inform your ongoing instruction is considered formative. So an easy way to remember that is formative has the word form in it. So if we are using these assessments to form our instruction so we know what to teach, it's a formative assessment. So contrarily, anything that will determine how well the student understood what has been taught, is considered a summative. So summative, think of it as the word summary. It's a summary of what the students have learned. So if I give you an assignment and then I'm going to use the results of that assignment to help you improve the assignment or for me to know what to teach next, that would be a formative assessment. If it's just simply I'm posting your grade at the end of the semester, this is your final grade, then that's more of a summative assessment. It's too late at that point for me to do anything differently for you. So this week we are again looking at formative assessments, and you are going to do a little bit of reading and watching to learn a little bit more about how formative assessments can be created. So there's a few resources you have here. There's a quick article to read called Empowering Teachers with Tech-Friendly Assessment Tools. So I already have it loaded here. So just some ideas to think about in order for you to choose the right tool to use, and there's some ideas here as well. There's a video on using technology to collect classroom data. So again, this is just a good resource for you to watch regarding how you can utilize formative assessments to plan your instruction and assess your students. And then lastly, there's an article called New Teachers, Here's How to Build Formative Assessments. And so there's some resources and some ideas for you to think about when utilizing formative assessments. So your assignment for this week is to create a formative assessment. So if you click on, if you go back to our D2L, right here's the link, and then also you can always find assignments by going over here to assignments. But here's the link for how you are going to create a formative assessment. So I'm going to give you a couple of options. There's a few different ways to do this. In the assignment direction, it provides you with a few scenarios. One is that you're a first grade teacher and you need to assess this math standard. One is you're a third grade teacher and you're going to assess this math standard. Another is you're a fourth grade teacher and you're assessing this language arts standard. And the last one, you're a kindergarten teacher. Second to last, you're a kindergarten teacher and you're assessing how students can or can't recognize rhyming words. And then last one, you're a fifth grade teacher and you're trying to address this standard. So what you can do is you can pick one of these scenarios and create a formative assessment to assess the standard that's listed here, the Common Core standard. So you don't do them all, you just pick one. And then you can use any of the formative assessment tools we talked about last week in Module 10, to create your formative assessment to go along to see how well your students mastered this standard. However, the last option says if you have another scenario related to a standard that you would like to address, you can contact me for approval. So what our plan was going to be was We were supposed to have our field trip last week to Washington, D.C. We were going to go to the Library of Congress, and then we were going to go to the Natural History Museum. So I was going to let you select a content or something that you learned at either the Library of Congress or the museum to create a formative assessment. So I was going to let you envision that you were the teacher and you were going on this field trip with your students, and then whether it was an exhibit or an artifact or a piece of information that we learned at one of those places, I was going to let you use that as the basis for your formative assessment, what it was you're going to be assessing your students on. So if you want to still do a virtual field trip, I understand Mrs. Hermstead had sent you the links last week to a virtual field trip. You could use one of those links that Mrs. Hermstead sent and still pick something that was an exhibit or something included in the virtual field trip that you could then create a formative assessment on. So you could do it that way. Or I thought of another option as well, is I know in English with Mrs. Truitt, there's been different skills and topics you've covered. Same with in Foundation of Literacy with Mrs. Hermstead, there's been different content and skills you've learned in that class as well. So if you want to pick a concept that you learned in one of those classes as the basis of this assessment, you can do that as well. So you have a couple different options here. You can use one of the scenarios that's in the directions. You can use something you learned in the virtual field trip links, or you can use something you've learned or have been taught in Mrs. Hermstead or Mrs. Truitt's class as the basis for what you are assessing your students on. Okay, so once you've established what it is you're going to be assessing, you're then going to use one of the tools from Module 10 that we learned about formative assessment, create an assessment to assess your students' knowledge of those skills. Here's the rubric that I will use to score you. Okay. So what you're going to do is there's a discussion board that goes along with this assignment. You're going to type up a little narrative that explains what it is you're going to be assessing. So give us this prior knowledge so that we understand what it is as a class we supposedly did, and then what you taught us, and then what you're going to be assessing. You're going to use the tool to create the assessment. And then be able to share that with us. So I have a discussion board right here for us to use for this module. It's posted under Module 11, and I have the directions right here. So exactly what I just said. So as we always do every week, you're going to be posting all this information onto your Google site. So this is the creation of a formative assessment assignment. So post basically the information in two places. Post your description of your formative assessment, that what I said that narrative was of explaining to us what it is that we did, what you taught us, and then create your formative assessment as well. Post all that on your Google site and then post it here in our Module 11 discussion board. So be sure to post the link to your Google site and also the link to your assessment, but on your Google site, the link to your assessment should be right on there. Once you've done that, be sure to reply to at least 3 of your classmates, and this should all be completed by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. So I am always here for you. Please do not hesitate to reach out and contact me if you'd like to Skype or Zoom or FaceTime. We can do that individually or in small groups or a whole class. If the class would like to do a live Zoom, just let me know. I'm happy to do that. We also can always email, text, or speak by phone. So I am happy to help you, and please just let me know. Also, please make sure before you submit your assignment that you have the privacy link set so that anyone with the link can view it, so that I can see it and your classmates can see it as well. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for spending a few minutes with me. Take care.